Oh, that's right, the AOA Extravaganza is here. We are getting into another deck, and it's AOA. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, and you can see here I'm using the AOA mat, I call it, because it's the introduction of Ortanu. Ortanu's bindings. You may notice the mat is kind of cattywampus. That's because this is one of my favorite pieces of art. I love the way the chains look. The purples and everything are so Dis, but you have a different color scheme that Dis normally doesn't have. So I'm a big fan. But we're not here to discuss mat art. We're here to see what the next deck from the AOA Extravaganza has in store for us. Alright, so we have W. Greenfield, the Chamber Devil, and it is Logos, Shadows, and Dis. Ooh, that is some saucy deck combinations. I'm excited to see what's in here. See, I'm excited to kind of start realizing some patterns that exist within the AOA, which is what I'm hoping to uncover as we get further into this. But let's see what we got in here. So we got Ember Imp, Exhume, Streak, Yerk, Pain Reaction, Pandemonium, Spider, Tentacus, Eater of the Dead, Hecatomb, Cutthroat Research, Helperbot, Hexpion, Labwork, Titan Librarian, Mechanic, Researcher, ×2, Director, Seismo Entangler, and Project. Whoa! 2 ZYX decks from the same 2-player starter pack. That's interesting. Then we move on to Shadows with a Bad Penny, ×2, Furtive Investors, Life for Life, Nerve Blast, Ronald, Throwing Stars, Night Forge, Redlock, and lastly, Rigged Lottery. Alright, so that's that deck there. Let's get the first count on creatures and Ember. So we'll do Ember first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 Ember. And creatures, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 creatures. That's a really good ratio. I'm a big fan of that. And I think let's do the stats for this deck for this one. So there are those. Now, why do I like this deck? Because folks, I do like this deck. Why do I like this? Well, first off, the Throwing Stars with the pennies are really nice, which means that if you have both the pennies out, that's guaranteed 2 Ember. You also have the Life for Lives with the pennies, which is really nice. You have Ronald, obviously, Rigged Lottery. A lot of things I wouldn't mind if the Shadow stuff got discarded and had pennies here. So yeah, the Shadows is pretty nice. I mean, I think just from going off this, it's not a crazy amount of Ember control in here, but it's a good amount, especially with AOA. So I'm liking all that. We do also have... Oh, I'm realizing, yeah, if you get the double Throwing Stars, you can essentially get rid of Ronnie too. So you could go Bad Pennies, replay them, put a damage on Ronald, and the next time around you get 3. So that's 5 Ember in a turn, if I'm not mistaken. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Yep, that seems pretty good. Not to mention there's other things on here you could have targeted as well. Yeah, I love Project ZYX, so getting the suite here is great. I like the Seismo Entangler actually a lot more than I did before. I think it's because there's so much more reap abilities that are really potent in the game now. So this makes you able to do some disruption in that way. Again, great ways to archive here. There is the Director. You have 2 ZYX Researchers, Librarian, double Lab Work, Hexpion, and then obviously you have the Helper Bot to play some out-of-house stuff, which I I think there's a lot of candidates for that, actually. The Helper Bot is really solid in here. Hecatomb. Yeah, I'm a fan because we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 creatures here. So you got the potential to burst quite nicely here. So I'm okay with that. Eater of the Dead's fine. Tentacus is, again, nice little disruption. Spider's fine. Pandemonium, I actually don't mind this for kind of Ember control. I mean, there are the stars and whatnot, so you could technically damage, especially with this, Pain Reaction 2, you could damage some creatures and then reduce the impact Pandemonium has on you, so there's that way of setting things up. And yeah, you got this as well, Pain Reaction, so you could destroy one, deal to 2 more, so a lot of things there. Yerk, I like the Yerks. That's some cycling. That's some cards I don't really care about that I can get rid of and allow me to do some more cycling through my deck. So big fan of Yerks. And the single Yerks are even more interesting because you can have a little more leeway with what you want. Again, more disruption. Some 2 streaks are great. Exhume, yeah, the targets for this are pretty obvious. I feel you got, well, pretty obvious. There's actually so many. Helperbot, Ronnie. You also have any of the ZYX people that you may want to bring back. A lot of targets for Exhume in this deck. This card I don't much care for, but I will say that I can see you don't really have to reap with this deck. There's a lot of things that can burst and do some cool things, so you may be able to get away with using this to disrupt your opponent, especially, like I said, if there are those things that need to reap or they can go fast just by reaping with their board. This helps you out because yeah, there's not a lot of like board wipe. There's no board wipes in here, so you're going to be doing spot removal with creatures, but there is removal in here. It's just you don't have the same like wiped out sort of thing. The life for lives are going to be really important. So yeah, this deck for me is it's good. It's solid. I actually really like it. I'm excited to test it out and play it. I think it has potential to do some really neat things, without a doubt. Really neat things. I think that's pretty wild. 2 ZYX decks back to back in the same starter. That's really cool. And I do like the houses in here. Like, I'm really excited to test this out. The deck that I originally started with, I think, is way cooler in terms of the tricks and the combos it has. But I think this will probably win out most times just because it has a little bit more consistency in taking your opponent off keys and whatnot, which is going to give you a little bit of extra turn to get going. But if I was a new player coming to the game and I got to open up both these decks from the starter, I think I'd be pretty ecstatic, and I think the games would be pretty interesting. So let me know your thoughts on this one. What do you like about this? Did I miss something that I should have talked about? Tell me about it. Comment below. Please do like and subscribe if you haven't. And as always, may your ember never be stolen and your keys forged promptly. Have a good one.